Closing costs, what are they and who pays for them? My name is David Bentic, your Dallas-Fort Worth, North Texas realtor, and today we will be talking about what you need to know about closing costs you may have to pay when you buy your next home and how you may be able to avoid closing costs altogether. Welcome back to my channel, guys. If this is your first time here, please feel free to hit that subscribe button and the bell to get notified for future videos. Today's video will be talking about closing costs. Closing costs are all the fees and expenses associated with the closing or settlement of a real estate transaction, and they can vary dramatically. Buyers and sellers typically have their own set of closing costs, and here's what they look like. Let's start with buyers' closing costs. Closing costs for home buyers aren't cheap. According to Freddie Mac, typically they can range from 2 to 5% of the sales price. In other words, if you buy a $200,000 home, you can expect closing costs of between $4,000 and $10,000. As a buyer, your closing costs may include, but are not limited to, credit report fees, loan origination fees, inspection fees, discount points, appraisal fees, survey fees, lender's title insurance, title search fees, escrow deposits, recording fees, underwriting fees, attorney fees. It's important to note that these fees, as well as the buyer's responsibility to pay them, can vary widely based on your location. For example, if you live in a state with high property taxes, your prepaid escrow deposit can be significantly higher than average. Your lender should have a tool that will help you calculate the total costs. Now let's take a look at sellers' closing costs. Sellers generally have fewer items to pay than buyers, but that does not mean they get off easy. In fact, sellers are responsible for paying sales commissions to both real estate agents, which typically adds up to 6% of the sales price. Now, don't be scared of these fees. I'm going to show you exactly how you can avoid paying closing costs when you go to buy a home. Closing costs can seem rather expensive and a large burden, especially for first-time home buyers who do not have a lot of money for down payment. However, it is possible to avoid paying closing costs altogether. One strategy to consider is the no closing cost mortgage. A no closing cost mortgage can be helpful if you're short on cash. Your lender may have this option to go this route, but the closing costs that you don't pay up front will be folded into the loan, which may increase your monthly mortgage payments. Option number 2, and the most common, is to ask the seller to cover them. Now, you can ask the seller to cover your closing costs. This is known as a seller concession. A seller concession works like this. Determine the amount of closing costs you'd like the seller to pay. Assuming the seller agrees, that amount is added to the purchase price. You get a mortgage for the new purchase price, which now includes some or all the closing costs. The seller kicks back that extra amount to cover your closing costs, so now you have little to no closing costs due when you go to close on your home. Now, if you do plan to ask the seller for closing costs, here's how to give yourself the best chance of a yes. Number 1, make a strong offer. When you're asking for closing costs, a purchase offer is usually made for close to full asking or even above the asking price. Number 2, offer a quick close. Sellers are more likely to respond to a purchase offer if a quick close is part of it. Many things, however, can influence how fast you can close. Your loan type, market conditions, etc. The fastest way to close on the home if you buy the home cash. Number 3, make fewer demands. In a nutshell, the easier your offer seems, the more likely the seller will be willing to give you what you want. A buyer who's asking for closing costs and a new deck and a new driveway and a new roof and 10 other repairs may seem like more trouble than what it's worth. Now, depending on the market and the home, a seller might contribute towards your closing costs. However, it's important to note that if it's a seller's market where inventory levels are low, like most places across the country, and buyers are competing aggressively, sellers don't make many concessions. The bottom line, while closing costs can be expensive, they shouldn't be a limiting factor that keeps you from buying a home. Speak with your lender and agent early and often to determine how much you'll be responsible for at closing. If you found this information valuable, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for future videos. If you or somebody you know is looking to buy or sell real estate here in the Dallas-Fort Worth, North Texas market, please feel free to reach out to me on my direct cell. It's 214-384-1630, or you can contact me at email, david.bentic, that's BENTINCK at exprealty.com. If you found this information valuable, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for future videos.